Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another live this morning, and hopefully you are doing well. And I'll just wait a minute here, and some of you come on with me here. Good to have you on this morning, and hope you had a great weekend. Rosa, good morning. And Lee, how are you this morning? Good to have you on with us. Deanne, Pigeon, bonjour. Good to have you guys on with us this morning. Catherine, Andrea from Nouveau-Brunswick, and Nativity, good morning. Nick, how are you? Morris from North Bay, good to have you on, Morris. Jerry and Andrea, of course, from Nouveau-Brunswick. Kathy, Yolande, from the Valley. Pierrette, how are you? And Jeanette. Okay, let's see if we can get another et. Nope, Jane. Good to have you on. Okay, big crowd. John, our friend from Elgin, Illinois. Good to have you on with us. And from Pleasanton, Kansas, let me say hello. I just sort of missed your first name there. From Pleasanton, Kansas, Travis, how are you? Well, welcome to the show from the Midwest. Patricia and Wendy and Beverly and Angelina. You guys are great. I appreciate it. Pessy, where are you from? Marilyn, Arlene, Karen, okay? From Muskoka. And from Toronto, Maria. And Betty from the Tiny Beaches. Now, Betty, tell me where the tiny beaches are, okay? Where are the tiny beaches? Wasaga. Oh, beautiful. Must be beautiful. Bhuta from Pakistan. From Wyoming. Hold on. I want to say hello to you. Okay? Because that's the first time. Sheridan, Wyoming. Well, that must be beautiful there. John, how are you? Okay? Good to have you on. Terry and Diane and Regina and Karen and Kim and Vicky from Wheatley, and Jessica from Baxter, Ontario. Annette, thank you very much for coming on, you guys. I mean it. Aurora, Ronaldo from, where are you from, Ronaldo, again? Okay. Pembroke. Okay. So, guys, from coast to coast and right across the world, we appreciate it. Okay, let's get started. Now, I don't know if you can see my headline there. I don't know if you can see that. Do you ever see my title? It will certainly be on the podcast, the title of the little study we're going to do this morning. It's more of a, I'm not going to say it's a study, it's more of an observation about the coming tsunami is what I called it. Now, there was a story out last week. Actually, my wife sent it to me on CBC, and it was called the Echo COVID, okay? Meaning that there was going to be reverberations of COVID, the unintended consequences of self-isolation, shutting down the economy and that. And, you know me, I've been talking about this for a long time, but let me just give you some of the things that the CBC said, and then I'm going to go into some detail as to why I think there's a coming tsunami, okay? They're talking about even now, here's what they said, on the 25,000 Canadians have been hospitalized or killed, self-harm, since the start of COVID. 25,000 hospitalized or self-harm, okay, since the start of COVID, according to this CBC study. Drug overdoses are up 400%. And last year here in Sudbury alone, and I don't know what it's going to be in 2020, but I think it was 2019, there was 40 overdoses in Sudbury. Alcoholic liver disease is up 41%. Suicide is up. So not drug overdoses, but actual suicide is up 38% since March, according to the CBC. The unintended consequences, the coming tsunami. Now, you're talking there about, they're talking there about self-harm, alcoholism, drugs. That's unintended consequences of, you see, you guys know this too, by the way. People are meant to socialize. We're human beings. We're a different puppy. We're not meant to self-isolate. And loneliness and things like that have a huge, huge effect on the human being. Now, for me, I want to get into, and this may take a couple of sessions, I want to get into the unintended consequences to our healthcare system. Okay? And I think I started to explain this in the past, but I just will reiterate here. Okay? The unintended consequences, the coming tsunami. Doctors, unfortunately, all across the spectrum, and this is just the way it is in medicine. Everybody specializes today pretty well. The day of the family doctor, and if the family doctor, like when I was a kid, the family doctor did everything. You had stitches, the family doctor did that. And they might still a little bit today. But generally what family doctors, if you go in and you have a problem, they send you to a specialist, right? A GI specialist, to the cardiologist, to an oncologist if they suspect cancer or whatever, right? To a surgeon. Because medicine has specialized and you don't see the holistic. And I actually tweeted something over the weekend. And I was sort of just calling out doctors a little bit over this, okay? Because I said that doctors in general are lacking courage. And I don't mean to be tough, but doctors are lacking courage because they're looking at this virus from an infectious disease tunnel. You have a virus, close the whole universe down because it's a virus. And I understand that the public health units and whatever, that's what they do. They're infectious disease. So for them, a virus, when especially a lot of stuff was unknown about it, let's close everything down. The economy, to Dr. Fauci and others, well, that's too bad. My job is to keep people from getting this virus, so social distance, close your business, don't go to the gym. At first, don't go to the park. I had people around me when I came home from Florida telling me I couldn't even go outside. Now, that wasn't true, but they had so much fear, they were more worried about me going outside. And I said, well, wait a minute. The best place you can go is outside. But you didn't see that shouted from the rooftops like it should have been. You know why? Because of the specialization in medicine. And the doctors, including family doctors, who didn't speak out against this, in my opinion, lack courage. For example, in Sudbury, we never had COVID. The couple of cases that we had, were not worth talking about. We didn't have a curve, we had a pancake. We just never got it. But yet, some businesses in Sudbury are still, well, you know, if you want to go to a restaurant, it's half the capacity. Half of it is closed. I went to a restaurant with Rosie the other day, one of our favorite spots, and it was dead empty. And I talked to the young lady there, and she was in a depression because she said, this business is, I don't know how they're going to survive. And then I don't have a job. The unintended consequences of that, the people who are still online and shouting, stay home, stay closed, don't go. And, you know, they're even going against what Sick Kids said about, let's get back to school for the kids. This was supposed to last 2 weeks, and here we are. Now, I don't want to get into the politics, but I want to talk to you about the unintended consequences. The CBC said it, but you know what? It shouldn't have came out of the CBC. It should have came from the College of Physicians and Surgeons, who should have said, in Canada, in the United States, we need to get back to our lives, because if we don't, we're letting infectious disease people take over the world. In Ontario, just tell you what it is. We still are in an emergency situation in Ontario. I mean, guys, the power that they gave to the medical officer of health in our province and in Canada is incredible. Now in Florida, because I just going to put it out there because I know I'm going to get blowback on this. But everybody, including my neighbor the other day, is telling me, well, yeah, we don't want to be like the Americans because they did it wrong. I don't know if they did it wrong. They just wanted to get their economy going. Their unemployment rate has gone through the roof. Oh yeah, but look what happened in Florida. Yeah, you have a lot more cases, but in the United States, unlike Canada, they're testing. They've tested almost 60 million people in the United States. If you test, you're going to find the coronavirus. I'm not saying there's no virus. There is a virus. There is a virus, but if that's all the focus we're going to have on a virus, well then, are we going to wait for a vaccine? Because that's what they're doing. In my opinion, they're just saying, well, once we have a vaccine, and then we'll let people go back to school. I bet you're going to wear a mask for the next 2 or 3 years, if not longer. That's just my opinion. But what I'm saying is this, okay? Let me bring it back. I don't want to get off on a pile of rabbit trails because I want to talk to you about the unintended consequences. I'm going to show you what exactly is going to happen. I'm going to make a prediction and I'm going to show you why it's going to happen. Now, the fact that Canada, you know, I love hockey. So what did they do? They put everybody in a bubble. Nobody can go in, nobody can go out. And they've been testing the players every day and it's worked really well. No fans, nobody in the stands. But I'm of a different persuasion and like I said, I'm not going to spend all my time, but I think it's better if we get exposed to the virus so that our immune system knows what to do. You're never going to get away, my friend, from the viruses and the bacteria. You can't live in a bubble the rest of your life. And if you think a mask is the answer, well, good for you. But I don't think it's the answer. Because your your body has the answer, but it likes to be exposed to, you know, like if I took a swab even of my office here, There's all sorts of viruses in here. There's billions of them. There's billions of bacteria right in this room. You are always going to be exposed to it. Now, I know the coronavirus and blah, 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 and I get it. I understand it. But it's best that we get out there and let's get exposed to it. Our body will develop the immunity. Now, if you are older, you are unhealthy, you have to take precautions. I get that. I understand all that. But the unintended consequences are incredible. Mental health. That's what the CBC was talking about. And you know what? I felt like, because nobody will talk to me. I want to call the local public health and say, have you not thought of all of this? You know, where is the psychiatrist in all of this? Where are the psychologists in all of this? You know what? They've been muzzled, or they lack courage. I'm into prevention, folks. I don't want people to get sick. Where are the psychiatrists who are going to see, what is it? Let me read this statistic to you. Already out. Suicide up by 40%. 38 to be exact. Drug overdoses by 400%. Alcoholism up by 41%. Now, never mind the things they haven't even seen yet that I'll talk to you about. Because physiologically, this is what I want to get into this morning, okay? After my little preamble. The amount of cortisol. What is cortisol? Stress. If I come up behind you and I scare you on a dark alley, you have inside your body a stress response. It's called the fight or flight. It comes, well, from the brain first, but then down to the adrenal glands, and they release cortisol. Well, they release adrenaline too. It's meant to occur over a very short period of time. Because what happens when your cortisol goes up? Think about this. What happens? Let me tell you what happens physiologically. One, your heart rate goes up. Your heart rate goes up. But you can understand that. Your heart starts beating faster. Of course, you're scared. You start sweating. Your release of these hormones, in particular cortisol, elevates your blood sugar. Of course it's going to elevate your blood sugar because it's trying to get all the energy it can to fight or to run. The fight or flight. Your muscle tissue goes into spasm. Okay, you understand that. Your inflammation response. You see all your cytokines and your interleukin-6 and all that, they all go through the roof. Why? Because they're getting your body ready for a huge response. But the unintended consequences, the tsunami that's coming. Here's what elevated cortisol does to you if it doesn't get turned off. So you're isolated. Your kids are not in school. Your kids are going, their cortisol level is through the roof. You lost your job. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. You're much more worried about that. These are all documented responses called to the echo COVID. I'm calling it the coming tsunami. You had the earthquake, the virus, but we all know what a tsunami is. It's the ocean. When you have an earthquake underneath it, and oh, the damage that can cause. And this is what's happening. And guys, I just wanted to give you a little bit of the physiology behind it. Because, and here's what, okay, so I told you what got elevated. Your blood pressure gets elevated. Your heart rate gets elevated. Your muscles gets elevated. And your inflammation response gets elevated. But here's what goes down. Some things go up and some things go down. What happens? What goes down? Your immune system your body's not thinking about fighting an infection. It's thinking about fight or flight. So what goes down? Your immune system goes down. High cortisol equals low immunity. Your digestive tract doesn't work as well. You see, when you're uptight, think about that. When cortisol is up here, your body's not thinking about digesting. So what happens? You're eating, but you're not even digesting properly. That's the second thing that goes down, is your digestive tract. Your third thing is your hormones. You know, like ladies, your estrogen, your thyroid. Your thyroid is all like that. But cortisol has a major effect on the thyroid and even your estrogen. It sends it through the roof. Because you're not making any more progesterone. That's what cortisol does. Cortisol, it's like a vicious circle between itself and what it does to progesterone and what progesterone does to cortisol. So it hits you, ladies, much more than it hits a man in terms of hormones. And now you're gaining weight. Your obesity is going up because your hormones are all messed up, because you're secreting a hormone called cortisol, and it was meant to be temporary, not long-term. These are the unintended consequences, and this is why I've been screaming at the top of my lungs. Wake up. And I'm upset at medicine in general, because even though they're all specialized, ones that are going to see many more patients, and cardiologists coming to a theater near you, cardiologist, the number one killer in our society today is still heart disease, followed closely by cancer. These things are going to go up. You would not believe, even though they're very high already, they're going to get worse now. You know why? Because of cortisol. Because cortisol affects the heart. How does it affect your heart? It elevates your blood pressure. It creates inflammation. Inflammation will affect the Teflon layer of your blood vessels. Now you're going to start developing much more atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries. Men who are under a lot of stress, it usually attacks their heart. It usually attacks their heart. Now, I think I mentioned this the other day. Ladies, you need to be very, very careful with high levels of cortisol. Because for you, your estrogen goes up and it makes a very, very perfect storm for breast cancer. I've always said this, that breast cancer is a stress cancer. Almost invariably. Ladies, you need a perfect storm to get breast cancer. High insulin. Okay? High estrogen. And high cortisol from stress. I reverse engineer everything. You know that about me. When someone gets breast cancer, I'll show you this again. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. See that little tip of the ballpoint pen there? Takes 5 years for cancer to grow to that size. Ladies, in your breast tissue. 5 years. But when I reverse engineer, almost every time with breast cancer, when a lady comes in and said, oh, I had breast cancer, or I had breast cancer, or I have had breast cancer, or and then I say, well, you got a good chance you have it even now. But I always tell them, look, that cancer took years there. Then I go back into their history. I said, okay, tell me about what stress were you under 5, 10 years ago? Tell me about that. Oh, you know what? We went through a real rough time financially, my marriage, one of my kids, or, family dynamics. Like it was, and then stress, and you never really got rid of it. And that stress decreased your immune system, because you see what happens in stress, okay, cortisol. You don't make as many, your lymphocytes, your T cells. I've talked to you 1,000 times about T cells and how important you need T cells for the COVID or any other virus. You need T cells. They come out of your lymphatic system. They're called lymphocytes. And lymphocytes are very important for you ladies, because it helps to defend your immune system. And even helps you to fight cancer, not just viruses. Because T cells are the Navy SEALs. They'll come out first. But you know what? They'll call in the natural killer cells and say, hey guys, come on in here. I see a cancer cell. Let's get rid of it. Cancer cells take a long time to develop, ladies. It's a perfect storm. And the unintended consequence, I want to bring this back to what I'm saying. The unintended consequences are making me angry. Because here we are. And I'm not sure we'll ever get back to normal. There's going to be a day of reckoning, I believe, even in the economy. And this is hurting people. And the unintended consequences of people who go to the grocery store. The other day I was ordering a coffee. Okay? I love coffee, you know that. I want to support our local businesses. But I had this young snot-nosed kid. He's just doing his job, so I didn't say a word. My mask was down here. But he took it upon himself in a very nasty and angry way to let me know I was breaking the rules. Like I didn't even know it had come down here. Have you ever seen so many people angry? Well, guys, you're not meant for that. That elevates your cortisol. Oh, he elevated my cortisol there. I took me everything. to do this. Tony, don't say anything. He's just doing a job. Somebody must have made him a deputy. He's the COVID police. I don't know. Anyway, all I'm saying is, have you ever seen so much anger in the world as there is today? Well, guys, the unintended consequences of that anger are incredible. It's not meant to be. Physiologically, your body's not meant to be in that state. It's meant to be short term. Your blood sugar goes up, your blood pressure goes up, your muscle tension goes up. No wonder we see so much pain, muscle pain, and joint pain. But guys, that's what happens with cortisol. Cortisol attack. I only talk to you about your immune system and your heart and cancer. Your immune system goes down when you're stressed. What were they saying? I got to look it up, but I just give you a little overview. This is something I would have brought on a podcast. I can't remember how long ago. It's a podcast that I did, and probably Tony Jr. and I did it together. And that was on sleep and what happens to the immune system when you don't sleep. If you don't sleep, your cortisol goes up. If your cortisol goes up, you don't sleep. My practice in the last 10, 15 years, I'm telling you, what I saw more than anything else was high levels of cortisol. And I know there'll be somebody asking me this, so I'll just put it out there right now. When you have low levels of cortisol, that means you're just exhausted, okay? So that, it still comes out of the adrenals. So, oh, doc, my cortisol levels are low. Well, you don't want low levels of cortisol. You see, your cortisol should be on a circadian rhythm. Goes up more in the morning. You get going, your cortisol, of course, it brings your blood sugars up. This is why diabetics that take their blood sugar first thing in the morning, I tell them, why are you doing that? Of course your blood sugar is going to go up first thing in the morning. You're waking up. Your body's getting you going. That's not a good time to take it. It's not giving you an accurate reading. You know? My blood sugar's at 10 this morning. Okay, so what? What's it the rest of the day? You see, that cortisol gets your blood sugar comes up and your blood pressure will come up a little bit. And if you're exhausted and your thyroid's not working, your blood pressure won't even go up. It'll be low. So will your body temperature. As your temperature should get going as you get up in the morning. Of course. Think about it. But cortisol, you see, is meant to be in a cyclical rhythm, and it should be going really nice and low at nighttime as you go to sleep. But not if you got stress. Yeah. So, if you don't own a business, well, don't try and get into somebody's skin that does have a business. They might look at COVID completely different than you. A lot of people want to keep closed down till we have a vaccine. There's going to be unintended consequences to that. Just understand that. See, because they don't see the consequence immediately. Oh, we got to be safe from that virus. So you understand where I'm coming from. I'm more worried about the long-term effects of this because I've already seen it in the last, never mind COVID, I was seeing it before. We live in a different world today. Cortisol what cortisol does, it pours gasoline. Cortisol pours gasoline on inflammation. If you have a bad diet and you're stressed, gasoline on your insulin, which creates inflammation, and inflammation damages your blood vessels. Inflammation lowers your immune system. Inflammation makes you much more susceptible to autoimmune. Inflammation damages your heart. Inflammation and cortisol will make you much more susceptible to osteoporosis. Why? You're not going to be assimilating the minerals that you need for your bones, because it has a major effect on the digestive tract. Stress just pours gasoline on everything. You get it? So you might have a little bit of, let's say you have a little bit of yeast, and now you're stressed. And yeast is a low-grade infection, fungus. Now you're pouring gasoline on that infection. Stress makes everything worse because you were not meant to be under stress for other than a short period of time. I just want to close this morning with words that Jesus, don't worry, Jesus said. Don't worry about today or tomorrow, because today we got enough problems of our own. Cast all your cares upon me, he said. Because, guys, we live in a crazy world. Be anxious for nothing. It's hard because we live in a world that's built anxiety on steroids now because of what's going on. And I'm calling out, I'll close with this, I'm calling out all doctors of all kinds to start screaming, let's take care of our immune system and let's get back to normal. Let's take care of our immune system and let's get back to normal as fast as we can. We need each other, guys. We need to communicate. We need each other. People have forgotten that. They've forgotten the lonely. They forgot the hurting people. And they forgot the people. And I said, it's all right. Don't worry about it. Well, I'm more than worried about it. Anyway. Okay, enough of my rant for today. Now, again, this week, I'm going to, we got some really good things coming up this week. I'm telling you, there's some new studies and new things that are coming out in health that I really want to talk to you about. And you're going to, so stay tuned all week, okay? Lord willing. And then, if you have a chance, share this with your friends and family. Let them know. There's you got to take care of that immune system. You got to get that cortisol down. Get your cortisol down. This is very important. And if you have any doctors in your family or friends or whatever, they got to start speaking out. They got to have courage. Don't let just the infectious disease doctors run the world, because they only see like this. They only see out of their particular viewpoint. And be damned, everything else. That's what Anthony Fauci does. I watched him the other day. He was testifying before Congress, and it pretty near took a dentist. It pretty near took a dentist to come and pull his teeth without anesthetic to say his religion is you can't open anything. He said, my job is to keep everybody safe. From what, Dr. Fauci? Oh, from the virus. And this congressman was trying to get him to say, we need to open up the schools. Right, doc? Right, doc? Right, doc? And it almost took a dentist to drill his teeth without anesthetic for him to say, yeah, you know what, it would be better. You see, because he's all he could think of, even with these kids, even though they know the kids don't transmit the virus, and the chances of a child getting sick with COVID are almost nil. He said it, not me. But he still couldn't say, let's get the schools open. But he finally admitted, yeah, maybe we ought to get those schools going. But he didn't want to say it because, you see, to him, his whole world is the virus. So what he really was saying, he didn't say it, but he almost said it, is that we better wait to open up the schools, and then we'll vaccinate all the children, and then they can go back to school. You can understand that, guys, because that's their specialty. That's all they know. That's all they know. They don't look at the consequences of depression. They don't look at the consequences of anxiety. They don't look at the consequences of your immune system going down. He's never talked about the immune system. They only talk about washing your hands and social distance. They don't talk about the immune system. It's craziness. It's craziness. Guys, I get, as you can see, I got my workout this morning. I won't need to do one. I got so uptight. I can't stand it. They're burying their head in the sand, including your physicians. And I'm pointing them out because they need to have the moral courage to stand up and speak up and get the world going again for the sake of our health. Yes. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.